Hello and welcome to the webinar on the Outstanding Junior Contest. Tonight, I'd like to welcome Jamie Durham Birchfield, the National Chair of Junior Membership, to kick us off.
My name is Jamie Durham Birchfield, and I serve as the National Chair for the Junior Membership Committee. As we explore junior membership during the Dillon administration, this webinar will focus on a significant milestone of the junior journey, the Outstanding Junior Contest. It is our hope that this webinar will guide you through the application process to help you have the best application possible, whether you are claiming 12 points or 120 points. It is certainly admirable to set a goal of being your state's outstanding junior or the national outstanding junior, but please know that all outstanding juniors at the chapter, state, and national level deserve recognition and appreciation for their dedication and service to God, home, and country. The Outstanding Junior Contest should be a reflection and recognition for the work you have done as a DAR member. You should not be taking on positions in order to accumulate more points to better your chances in the contest. At this time, Jean Ellen Melton, the 2016 National Outstanding Junior and the National Vice Chair for the Outstanding Junior Contest, will present an in-depth look at the application and proof requirements.
Thank you, Jamie. Before we begin, it might be helpful to make available a copy of the application as we're going to discuss it in detail. In this webinar, we are going to discuss how to become a Chapter Outstanding Junior member, review the application, review the contest notification form, and discuss the general contest timeline. So let's start at the beginning. To enter the Outstanding Junior Contest, you must first be named a Chapter Outstanding Junior member. This comes by way of chapter endorsement or being selected by your chapter. Reach out to your chapter regent about your goal to enter the contest and ask her to support your goal. A suggested script has been posted in the Junior Membership Committee group on Facebook. Keep in mind that it is an honor to be named Chapter Outstanding Junior, and the honor is bestowed by your chapter. So, while you can share your wishes with the chapter regent, it is ultimately up to her and the chapter to provide this endorsement. An important note, you do not have to enter the contest just because your chapter selects you as their Chapter Outstanding Junior member. My chapter chose to recognize me as a Chapter OJ years before I was ready to enter the contest. And I was so touched that it was meaningful to them to do so, knowing I wouldn't be going on. If you're not ready, don't discourage your chapter from using this way to honor your contributions to the chapter. When you're ready to learn more about entering the contest, you will find there is a great deal of information to read and understand before you start. We all know the joke about how daughters aren't readers. But in this case, you will find that reading everything available to you will ensure you complete your application with fewer headaches for yourself and everyone who reviews your application after you submit it. First, visit the Junior Membership Committee page on the National Members website and read that first page. Then, click on the contest page in the right side menu. Read that page too. Then, click on Contest Forms and navigate to the Junior Membership Committee forms. There are 9 documents on this page, and 7 of them are related to the contest. Start with the Outstanding Junior Member Letter and the rules for the Outstanding Junior Contest. Then, print off the application, the contest notification form, the instructions for completing the contest application, or instructions for overseas entrants if you belong to a UNIS overseas chapter, and the list of national committees for the purpose of the contest. You will refer to the instructions and committees list numerous times while you complete your application. While you can and are encouraged to enter information directly into the application, you will want to use a printed copy as a worksheet while gathering information and proofs. In the course of this webinar, we will review the application part by part, beginning with Part 1. You will likely need to do a little research with your state and chapter to complete this section. Your chapter regent can tell you the number of chapter members, and the state regent can confirm the number of chapters, as well as her contact information. If your present and permanent addresses are the same, it's fine to write same as above. Be sure you enter the correct month and year of when you joined DAR, as the reviewers will refer back to this date when reviewing awards and activities listed in Parts 2 and 5. Also, if you have transferred your membership from another state, be sure to include that date as well. In Part 2, we will learn a little more about the applicant outside of DAR. Under Education, include all degrees, diplomas, or advanced work you have completed. This may include work completed before you joined DAR. As a reviewer, I love reading the occupation statements, as the women who belong to DAR have worked in and continue to work in some really cool jobs. You may write as much or as little as you would like here, as long as it fits in the space provided. Unlike Education and Occupation, the final section in Part 2 is limited to awards, citations, and recognitions received while a member of DAR. This section may include everything from your Presidential Service Award to your prize-winning jelly at the county fair or the time you won Miss Congeniality in a local pageant. Proof is not required for this section. Part 3 is the meat and potatoes part of the Outstanding Junior application. More than half of the instructions are related to Part 3, and you will appreciate having printed out the rules as you work through this section. Keep in mind that only the application itself will be reviewed. Some applicants run out of room using a standard font size and choose to type it up in a word processing system using a smaller font size, then print and paste into the application. That is fine. Using an additional page and referring the reviewer to another page is not acceptable. Keep in mind that you are listing only the years you have actually served in the role, including this year. So, if you were just installed in a 2-year term as a chapter officer, you would claim this year, 2018-2019, but not next year, 2019 to 2020. Likewise, you can claim points for paging at a state conference in 2018, but not 2019. I won't go through each section listed, but I do want to mention a few sections that trip up applicants. First, the very first section is for chapter chair of a national committee. You may recall earlier I mentioned printing off a copy of the national committees for the purpose of the contest. You may include only committees on this list during the years listed. Many members, particularly those who have belonged to DAR for several years or who belong to smaller chapters, have served in more chapter committee positions than you can list due to the maximum number of points per year. If you have additional chairmanships of a national committee to list, or if you served as a chapter chair of a state or chapter committee, those should be included in Part 4, Other DAR. You do not need to provide proof for items listed in Part 4, and you will not include items listed in Part 4 in your point total. If you are participating tonight as a future applicant, this is one area you might pay attention to. I was surprised when I worked on my own OJ application at how many years I did not have the maximum of 2 points per year. I belong to a smaller chapter, and I could have done more in those years. Pay close attention to the list of national committees for the purpose of the contest, again, when you reach the sections for serving as a state chair, state co-chair, state vice chair, etc. Only those committees listed in the official list may be recorded under state chair or co-chair for a national committee. If you served as state chair of a committee not on the list or outside the years listed, it must be recorded under state chair or co-chair for all other committees. Note that state chair of a state conference committee, like memorial service or music chair, would be recorded in a different section, state chair of a state conference committee. A state vice chair of any committee, national or not, is listed under state vice chair. The list of acceptable clubs, societies, and associations for inclusion in the sections for club leadership are listed in the instructions. If your state has a club not listed, Cameo Society, for example, you cannot list leadership on your application. Leadership for clubs, societies, or associations not on the accepted list may be listed in Part 4, Other DAR Service. You may not include these positions in your point total. Note that there are several sections having to do with national committee leadership. Refer to your national member record on eMembership, which is acceptable proof for all of these sections. A division vice chair should not be recorded as a national vice chair. Likewise, national vice chair of a Congress committee, like the Page Committee, or of the National Junior Doll, are listed in their own sections, not under the national vice chair of a national committee section. Providing proof of paging at your state conference is difficult to do if you've not kept up with the guidelines. For paging service since 2009, the only acceptable proof is a signed certification from the state page chair or state regent that you paged a state-established standard number of sessions during state conference. There is not a standard certificate or postcard that all states use because every state is different and has a different process. Check with your state page chair if you are unsure what the standard or process is in your state. If your state is still working to develop this, some state page chairs have recently shared theirs in the Page Chair Facebook group. If you do not provide copies of the signed certification with your application, points recorded since 2009 will be removed. If you paged at a state conference before 2009, refer to the instructions for preferred and other acceptable proof. If in doubt, ask before you submit your application. Service as a delegate to your state conference is another difficult item to keep up with proof. Acceptable proof is either a copy of the signed credentials form for each year or a copy of the chapter minutes for the meeting you were elected delegate. A note about using chapter minutes as proof. The instructions tell us that minutes used for proof must be signed by the chapter regent and that her signature must be notarized by a notary public. In this case, the notary is affirming that the person signing the minutes is in fact the chapter regent authorized to sign. She will need to provide the notary with photo ID and a document establishing that the person on the ID is the chapter regent. A chapter yearbook listing her is sufficient. Many of our junior members are very involved in CAR senior leadership positions, and we are fortunate to record some of that CAR service for points. However, there is a limit of 4 points per year total. Typically, this means you will record only the highest position served in any given year. Any service that will exceed the point total may be included in Part 4, Other DAR. As I've said before, you do not need to provide proof for items listed in Part 4, and you will not include items listed in Part 4 in your point total. Another point about CAR, for juniors who hold or held dual membership in both organizations. This section of Part 3 is only for senior leadership positions. Positions held as a member of CAR while also a DAR member may be listed in Part 4. Part 4 is truly self-explanatory. This is your opportunity to record any additional DAR service that you did not include or record in Part 3. Keep a couple of things in mind. First, as one large empty block of space, this section can get crowded and confusing. Use some system of categorization to keep things clear and understandable. This may be as simple as headings for chapter, state, national, and CAR. Also, listing things in chronological order will help. Second, 2 out of 3 judges at each level are not DAR members, so be careful not to fall into the habit of using DAR jargon. Judges receive a 1-page fact sheet about DAR, but even something as clear to DAR members as Continental Congress could be confusing to a non-member. Like other DAR service, Part 5 can be confusing without some sense of order. You may choose to list every community service organization in chronological order, or you may wish to group them by theme, God, Home, and Country, for example. Please be sure that all service listed takes place after the date recorded in Part 1 of your application. The best way for me to know how many applications to expect is through the contest notification form. You'll print and mail a copy of this form to me at the same time you mail your application to your state contest contact. This form is as important as your application. First, please write your name as you'd like to see it on a certificate. If you win State Outstanding Junior or National Finalist, you'll receive a certificate at Continental Congress. Do you want the certificate to read Jane Smith, Jane Elizabeth Smith, Jane Elizabeth Brown Smith? I'll use the name as printed on your contest notification form for the certificate request. I will also use the contact information on the form if there are any concerns. Very occasionally, I will need to reach out to an applicant or the state contest contact in January. My first place to look for contact information is this form. It is your responsibility to ensure that your state contest contact received your application, and also that all information on the contest notification form is correct. Now, we'll review the contest timeline and key deadlines. You know that the contest application must be postmarked by October 31st, as well as the contest notification form. But what happens in that black hole of time between October 31 and your state conference in the spring? During the month of November to early December, the state contest is judged. Early in the month, your state contest contact will review your application to be sure everything is there and that items requiring proof have the proof provided. She may have to cross out items without sufficient proof. Then she will send off all applications she received to the state judges for review. When she receives the judges' sheets and applications back from the state judges, your state contest contact will prepare the state packet to mail off to her assigned division vice chair. Each division is assigned to a different division's vice chair to avoid any potential conflicts of interest. In addition, when a division vice chair plans to enter the contest, she is taken out of the pool to review applications. All packets must be received by the division vice chair by December 15th. During the month of December to early January, the division vice chair will review every application from the state packets she receives. She will be sure everything is present in each application and that items requiring proof have the proof provided. She may have to cross out items without sufficient proof. Although unlikely, she may determine that a state winner was not actually eligible for selection. She will immediately forward any questions on to the National Vice Chair. Once the state packets have been reviewed, the Division Vice Chair will prepare a division packet and send everything on to the National Vice Chair of the contest by January 15th. The National Vice Chair will review all applications again to be sure everything is present in each application and that items requiring proof have the proof provided. She too may have to cross out items without sufficient proof. After review, the National Vice Chair will confirm state winners. In early February, she will notify state contest contacts who may then notify the state regent and order the state OJ pin from Hamilton. Also in early February, the National Vice Chair will prepare the National Judges Packet with the application of every state outstanding junior member. Throughout state conference season in the spring, state outstanding juniors will be announced. Please be sure to share the news via Facebook so juniors across the country can celebrate with you. After each state winner is announced, she will receive a packet in the mail from the National Vice Chair with information about Continental Congress. If you are named State OJ and more than a week or two has passed without receiving your packet, please reach out to the National Vice Chair. You may wonder if you are a national finalist. Generally speaking, we will wait until after the last state conference to release the list of all state winners and then a list of national finalists a few days later. If the national judges have provided their results to the National Vice Chair before your state conference, and if your state conference is attended by the President General, the National Vice Chair of Junior Membership, or the National Vice Chair of the contest, then we may announce a national finalist at her state conference. We also may save the surprise for everyone until May. National finalists will be contacted by the National Vice Chair immediately prior to the list being published. We sincerely hope that all state outstanding junior members will attend Continental Congress in June. It is a fun week for your state and the National Society to celebrate you. National finalists are expected to attend, particularly the National Outstanding Junior Member Presentation and the Junior Membership Luncheon. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. As always, if you have any questions as you prepare your application, please do not hesitate to reach out to your state contest contact, your division vice chair, or your national vice chair. I prefer text message and Facebook private messages, but you can always email or call too, and my contact information is on the screen. Thank you again for participating.
And thank you, Jean Ellen, for so much for all of this great information. And Jamie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Best wishes to all of you who are participating in the Outstanding Junior Contest and continuing your junior journey.